Alright, hello everyone! Today I want to talk about a post I saw from Kyo that I found interesting, which basically said, if third kits get announced after King's Cup is over, if anything gets cooler, it's dead on arrival. I really can't see anything overtaking Pencil or Edit. They're too good at what they do. So, before we get into that, I feel like I should put this disclaimer out now that we're, like, very close to the King's Cup. And, a lot of people are expecting a third kits announcement. I have covered the news about it a lot. I know people have been making jokes about it, and that's fine. But I want to be a little serious for a minute. I do not expect third kits tonight. I think it's possible. I think it's the most likely place we'd get them announced if they happen. But it's been 6 months since we got second kits. I don't know, guys. Remember when we had the 4th Splatana and Stringer code, and those didn't happen? Those probably got pushed back to the next game. Could be the same deal. Now, what I'm saying is, if you're going to wake up at 4 a.m. or whatever to watch this event and sit through it for 3 hours and absolutely hate that you did it if there's no third kits at the end of it, then don't do it. Don't go and watch it for the third kits. If you want to see a cool tournament with 4 of the best teams in Japan competing to see who's the best, and, if third kits happen, it's a bonus, then go watch it. I'm personally interested in the tournament itself, not just a potential announcement at the end. So, I do want to get that out there. While I try to cover everything related to this, because I know people are interested in it, and so am I. Don't go into it with your hopes up too high. Keep a reasonable set of expectations, and in the end of the day, what happens, happens. Anyway, so let's talk about this idea. So basically what Kyo's saying is that Edit and Pen are basically the perfect cooler weapons, because not only do they paint and get them a lot and are very strong main weapons, but they also sit back and they play really safe, so that they're not going to die as often, your cooler output's going to be fairly consistent. So could another cooler weapon compete with it? And to me, this splits the discussion into two categories. One, can another backline get cooler and work? And two, can another non-backline get it and work? So let's just take a random example, right? I've talked about Dread with cooler before. Let's say Dread gets its perfect kit. Let's say Dread gets Twerp and Tacticooler. What anchor do you play? Like, forget the other two weapons. There's plenty of good combinations you can put with that Dread kit. What would the backline be? You could just do another Pencil, but then we're kind of missing the point a little bit. Double Cooler isn't really that great with HP specials coming back. You could do Red Pen, but then you have, just a worse Pencil. Your Cooler guy is on the wrong roll, and, Dread's probably the best option for Cooler. I'm gonna be honest. This is personal bias aside. It can hang back, it has decent, it has insane paints, has decent survivability if it's playing safe and not using Reef Slider. And even then, a Pencil is probably going to live more. I'm not sure if Dread's going to get more coolers than that. So the idea would be, okay, maybe you play some more aggressive backline then, like Bamboo or Rapid. But wouldn't you rather have the cooler weapon be a Bamboo or Rapid, even in that scenario? And so what I think is really the case for a kind of cooler weapon like this is if the anchor weapon you're playing has terrible special output. So, Rapid, basically. If Rapid got a high points for special, would it get enough cooler? I think that's really the only idea where I would see it. And it's hard to really see too many strong combinations, again, outside of Rapid. So yeah, I do think it's fair that most frontline weapons or support weapons with cooler wouldn't be used. I mean, we have Zap right now, and that's a prime example of it. You barely ever see it, and it's mostly because why would I want this weapon to be the cooler weapon over most of the other options that we have? So that's one case. Being locked out of the best weapon in the game kind of sucks. So what about the other one, for other anchors? Is there an anchor that could stand up to Pen? To me, there are two candidates for anchor weapons that I think could have a chance if they got Tacticooler. The first one is Wellstring. Wellstring paints very well, obviously. The explosion damage it has works very well with other frontline options. So it works very easily with a lot of the metacoms. You can play this with Stamper, you can play this with Bucket, you can play this with Dooley, it works great with Crab, it can utilize Bubble pretty well, it shreds other HP specials. That's a unique reason to use it in its own right, is because you can use it against these more prominent HP specials. And Wellstring's biggest problem right now is that it has this, which, don't really want this over a cooler option. So absolutely, I could see Wellstring, but it's a bit hard to say. There is a downside here. I don't think Wellstring is as self-sufficient. Now, this might just be a we haven't seen the weapon enough thing, but I think compared to Pencil's ability to fight, this one's a little bit lacking. It's not going to be able to contest Pencil at a distance. It's really hard to do any form of lethal damage near its maximum range. If people are rushing you, you need to hit a one-shot or you need teammates' help. Basically, it's really dependent on working off of other people's damage to the point where it might be a little bit lacking in its own. And that could be a bit of a problem for sure. Now, the other candidate is Rapid. Now, Lewis just did a kit on this earlier this week with Wall and Cooler, and it would definitely need something like Wall or some consistent damage sub so it doesn't get run down. But I could see Rapid working more, because Rapid already has an argument to be played with dive-style comps, which are very popular right now. It meshes very well with stuff like dualies and the swords, and all the HP specials help with the stabilization. However, it would need a sub that prevents it from being rushed down, so some combo tool or Wall, and it would need to be low enough points for special to get a decent amount of armor. Now, I've seen this weapon get like 6 to 8 killer whales, which is alright, at 190. But Cooler is a longer cooldown. And you're probably going to be the target a little bit more. And you don't get killer whale cycling like you do with this weapon. So I'm a little bit less sure on its ability to work. This might be a case of, like I talked about earlier, where it has to be some other weapon in its comp that gets cooler just because the output isn't enough. And it would probably have to be some midline fighting weapon to avoid the exact same problem Zap has. So it's a bit hard to say. So at the end of the day, I think it's kind of interesting to think about that, yeah, Cooler is actually very picky about what weapons it's picked on because of how comps are built these days, and how it's ended up on such perfect weapons because of their consistency with the role. This is something we've kind of seen before. For example, in Splatoon 2, despite how broken Stingray was, you still didn't want your Ray weapon to be like a 52 or a machine. They were still picked anyway because it was that broken, but the point is you didn't want it to be that, and the second C-Jet started existing, or old Charger when it used to paint, those were the ones we saw most of the time, and this is a similar thing. I think that despite there being many strong weapons that can get cooler, how you build team comps around it is a little bit tricky, and the only real way to fix that is probably toning back this weapon a little bit, which seems about as likely as third kits happening in the first place, considering the track record. So, I think it's an accurate stance to have, that's totally fair, and yeah, that's my opinion on it. I hope I will be seeing some of you guys for the stream tonight. Thank you all so much for watching, and yeah. We'll see what happens later. Alright, let me know your thoughts below. Goodbye.